Hello YouTube, this is the Bucket coming at you today with my range report on the Walther P5, Sig P6, H&K P7 West German pistol collection. So I want to thank John from Nap Weaponry for letting me borrow this Walther P5. This is my P6, my P7. I have done individual first impression videos or history videos on all three of these firearms. There'll be links right up there for you guys to click on those if you want to know more about the history and the specifics of each one of these firearms. So me and the Goat Whisperer and Tanfolio went out to the range and we ran all three of these guns through their paces. And what this is going to be is to tell you what we thought about each one of the pistols, show you how we shot them, and talk to you about what we think about each one of these pistols. So I hope you enjoy what we've got in store for you. The Walther P5 was a gun I have never held before. I never shot before. I took it to the range, and I'll tell you, this gun feels great in the hand. The single stack nature of the gun just makes it really feel great. It just naturally gets right into that webbing of your thumb where you want it to be. I'll tell you that the slide itself feels a little fat, and with all of the controls right here, I found that I had a hard time of knowing where to put my hand. You know, you've got the takedown right here, you've got the trigger mechanism right here. Me and Tanfolio just really did not know where to put it. Now, again, this is just us the first time we've taken it to the range. I know that I would get really used to it. I do like the fact that it has nice big rear and front sight. It has this line with a dot on the front sight. Not naturally the most intuitive for me to shoot, but I ended up figuring it out really pretty quickly. It was a nice soft shooter. I did not have a problem with recoil at all. The follow-up shots were really, really great. As far as how we shot, Tanfolio is the newest shooter of the three of us. He held a pretty nice group. That's about 2.5 to 3 inch group. A little low and to the left, but definitely good, you know, good for the first time that you went out and shot it. The Goat Whisperer is probably the most accurate of the three of us as far as shooting. He went ahead, held a really pretty good group. That's 2 bullseyes right there. Just that first shot was a little bit hard for him to pick up on. And the bucket, I held a nice tight group, 4 reel here, and I had a little flyer. That was just me. Again, I think the sights were just a little foreign for us. It just took us a little bit to get used to those, but we ended up figuring it out for sure. Definitely an amazing shooter, and definitely just a really fun gun to have at the range. Next up is the Sig P6. This is the gun that probably all three of us have had the most history with, this particular firearm, or ones just like it. I've shot P225s, P226s, P228s, P220s. This is definitely a very familiar battery of arms. This is also my firearm. The Goat Whisperer has also shot some of these in the past, so this was not his first try. But Tanfolio, this was the first time he's ever shot an all-metal Sig. Again, these feel really great in the hands. I like my Marshall grips. They make them a little beefier, fill in a little bit more than the plastic grips would. The sights, I really am not a fan of these sights. This is actually the second P6 I've ever owned. The first one had, similar to the P5, a line with a dot at the front. This is a blacked out rear, blacked out front. Made it a little bit harder. It was late. It was evening when we were shooting this, so that no contrast definitely affected how I shot this particular gun. But the sights are of a pretty good size. The recoil was just, you know, great. That metal design just soaks up the recoil of the 9mm round. Had no problem getting my finger in the trigger. Not, you know, a tactical trigger by any stretch of the imagination, but the single action is a really, really great single action. Probably a little less creep than the Walther P5. As far as accuracy goes, Tanfolio just took to this gun immediately and had an amazing group just from as soon as he picked up the firearm, and basically the whole time through he could just naturally point this. That's an awesome group. Probably just a hair over an inch on that one. The Goat Whisperer, he had 2 bullseyes, 2 really close right here. Again, picked up really easy 5 shots. Shot really, really accurately with this one as well. I probably shot this one the worst. With me being blind in one eye, I'm sure it did not help me. That's probably the widest group of the 3 pistols that I had. I did get a couple in right there. But I just wasn't shooting well. I think the lighting had something to do with it. The Goat Whisperer said that he wished that it would have had a little bit more of a beaver tail. And in later Sig models, you're going to end up seeing more of a beaver tail, which probably is something that they picked up on with the West German police. Next up is the H&K P7, or the PSP. This is probably the smallest of all of the firearms. Again, that single stack nature that they had for all of these makes just for a really, really fun grip. It's a little bit more of an intense angle, which makes it, in my opinion, more of a natural shooter. The slide is really low profile because of the delay blowback system. The bore axis is lower, which makes the slide also a little bit smaller, which makes it a little bit harder, especially with that recoil spring, to rack the slide, but nothing that was impossible to do by any stretch of the imagination. The 3-dot sights are natural and intuitive to pick up on. I found that the recoil was really, really pleasurable, very, very slight, very, very easy to pick up on. Both Tanfolio and the Goat Whisperer said that it was a little hard to get the squeeze cocker into action. They felt like that was just really something that was just hard for them to manage. It's definitely a different design, and definitely a design that it takes a little while to get used to, for sure. As far as accuracy goes, this is the one that Tanfolio probably struggled with the most. He had a couple flyers here, but these 3 were really pretty close to the bullseye and held a pretty decent group there. The Goat Whisperer, he shot really well with this. That's 3 bullet holes right there, 1 right here, just a little bit of a flyer off to the side. This is a gun that I really like to shoot. That's all 5 right there at the bullseye, and probably the tightest group of the 3 of us for the day. This just goes to show that you can be extremely accurate with this pistol in the polygonal rifling and the delay gas blowback system, and the fixed barrel of the delayed gas. Sorry about that, guys. The delay blowback gas system makes it for something that could be really accurate. And again, like I said earlier, that 3-dot sight is just something that's really natural for us to this day. So now for our final impressions and our votes from the Goat Whisperer, Tanfolio, and myself. I will tell you that when you think about the history of these particular firearms, it kind of makes sense where you go with these different guns. So I would say that each and every person that shot the gun immediately picked up the P6 and was probably the most accurate with that. But again, that's the most common battery of arms that we're used to and have the most history with it. The Goat Whisperer said that he felt like he was getting a little too much slide bite and wished it would have had a little bit more of a beaver tail. Both of them would have voted that this was their least favorite, the P7, followed up by the P6, and then they both really enjoyed the P5 the most. It had the most of a beaver tail. The grip just felt really natural for both of those guys, and they felt like this was something that they just enjoyed shooting the most. So even though they weren't maybe as accurate with this one, they said that this one was their particular favorite. As far as the bucket goes, the P7 is the one I shot the best. I really like it a lot. I think it has a lot of really great features that make it super, super accurate, and my target shows that. So I'd probably would say the P7 was my favorite, where the P6 would be my next. And while I really, really loved the Walther P5, if I had to pick between the 3, this would probably be the one that I put in last place. As far as how history has gone, you know, the P7, it was a different mechanisms, a lot of different thoughts, a lot of different things that they put out there that just didn't really take hold. There's been a couple other pistols that have come up with the same delaying system that the P7 has, but none of them have really caught on or been super popular. The the P5, or the last iteration of the P38, while it is a really neat design and it is very functional, Walther kind of abandoned it. They went on to the P88 and the P99 and really kind of decided that it wasn't worth the energy and the cost to keep producing these pistols. They could do something a little bit different. The winner of the West German police trials was the P6. I mean, that was the gun that the most police states ended up adopting. Part of that was due to the cost, but these were really accurate, really reliable pistols. And of all three of these companies, this is the one that had the most sales. This design, the 200 series of pistol, was the one that really was the best, that worked the longest. It almost became the military police pistol the military pistol for the U.S. military. If it wasn't a little bit too expensive, we would have had the P226 instead of the Beretta 92. Tons and tons of police organizations, tons and tons of countries' militaries have adopted the 200 series of pistol, and it shows. It's accurate, it's reliable, it's just natural for people that have a lot of experience with firearms and people that don't have as much. So if you want to get one of these, I would recommend all three of these on the market. They are becoming collector's items. So they, while they are good pistols, you know, you're paying a lot for the collector value of all three of these pistols. So I want to thank you guys. If you want to know more about any of the specifics, please check out my other videos. I will have links to them and tags in the video as we have been going on. Thanks for the likes, the subscriptions, the shares are really appreciated. And as always, you stay classy, YouTube. Little baby bucket, do you want to live in California?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not a compliment.